Hello students. So today we are going to start with a new chapter, motion in a straight line, right? The actual physics start from this chapter. Yes, of course, in the previous chapter we had discussed about physical quantities, their units, dimensions, etc. Well, in this chapter we'll discuss about the motion, types of motions, what is velocity, different types of velocity, acceleration, and the graph of all these quantities. It's a very interesting and calculative chapter, right? Okay, see, motion is a word which is very common to us in day-to-day life. Of course, we all have heard this name, motion, right? So how can we define this motion? We all know that what is motion, but how to define this? So in a very simple manner, I'll say that when any object is changing its position, yes, when any object is changing its position with respect to time, it is said to be in motion. That means I am standing on the side of the road, I am observing that a car which was initially here, then it had moved here, then it is moving over here. That means car is changing its position with respect to time, then I will say that yes, car is performing motion, right? So when any of the object is changing its position with respect to time, when any object is changing its position with respect to time, it is said to be in motion, or it is said to be performing motion. Clear, right? So when any of the object, if it is changing its position with respect to time, it is in motion. Now there may be many types of motions, but broadly motions are classified into three types. First one is translatory motion or translational motion. Second one is rotational motion, yes, and third one is vibrational motion. Mainly these are the three types of motion: translational motion, rotational motion, and the third one is vibrational motion. Clear? Yes, translational motion is further classified into two parts: rectilinear or linear and curvilinear. These are the two subtypes of translatory motion. Once again, motion means when any object is changing its position with respect to time, it is said to be in motion, the simplest definition. And motion can be broadly classified into three parts: translational motion, rotational motion, vibrational motion. Translational motion is further classified into two parts: rectilinear or linear, and curvilinear, right? So we will see one example. Rotational motion, the ceiling fan of your home is performing the motion, that is known as rotational motion, right? Okay, vibrational motion, if you have kept your cell phone in vibrating mode and when someone gives you a call, the type of motion the cell phone performs, that is known as vibrational motion. Clear? Okay, what is translatory motion or what is translational motion? Translational motion means when the body moves, when the body performs the motion, each and every particle, if they are traveling equal distance, then such a motion is known as translational motion. That means we all know that any solid body is made up of particles. Solid body is made up of different many number of particles. So when the body is performing the motion in which all the particles inside the body, if they are undergoing the same distance, if they are traveling the same distance, right, then such a motion is known as translational motion, right? Now say this is let us say this is a solid body, right? We are just assuming that the solid body is made up of three particles. Now if the body is moving this way, moving straight, this way, here to here, and the particles of the body have covered equal distance, they have also moved same distance, but in a straight line. So this type of translatory motion is known as rectilinear motion. Once again, general definition of translatory motion is, or translational motion is, when the body is performing the motion in such a way that all the particles inside the body, if they are traveling equal distances, then such a type of motion is known as translatory motion or translational motion. Now if the particles are moving on a straight route, right, straight line, then such a type of translatory motion is known as rectilinear motion or linear motion. But what if the particles inside the body, now suppose this is a body, irregular shaped body, again it is made up of three particles. Now the particles are along with the body traveling in a curved path. Particles have covered a distance, equal distance, but now not in a straight line like this. Now they are moving in the curved path. So this kind of motion is known as curvilinear motion. This is known as curvilinear motion. Clear? So translational motion is further classified into two: rectilinear, when all the particles inside the body move in a straight direction and travel equal distance, then they are performing rectilinear or linear motion. If they are moving in a curved path, then that type of motion is known as curvilinear motion. Clear? So these are the types of motion, definition of motion. Now, before understanding what is displacement, velocity, we'll first understand what is frame of reference. Frame of reference. And yes, one more thing, motion in a straight line, this chapter is included in the branch of physics known as kinematics. Right? So kinematics is such a branch of physics where you will deal with motion without undergoing the cause and properties. Right? That means we are not concerned about the cause of motion. We are not concerned about the properties of motion. We just have to study about the motion. Right? So the branch of physics where you will deal with the study of motion without undergoing its cause and properties, that particular branch of physics is known as kinematics. Of course, we are going to learn about dynamics, mechanics, etc., etc. Clear? Fine. Now, what is frame of reference? Why it is needed to understand motion? See, we had started with the definition of motion such that when the body is changing its position with respect to time, it is said to be in motion. In a way, sometimes this is incomplete definition of motion. Right? That means, I'll give you an example. Suppose you went to railway station to receive one of your cousin. Right? You are standing on the station on the ground and you are observing that the train is coming towards the station. So if you are being asked that the luggage of your cousin, is it moving? You will say yes. The luggage is moving. Luggage is inside the train. And if you are observing the luggage, the position of the luggage is going to change. When the train arrives here, luggage is found out at this place. When the train moves this way, right? And the luggage is also shifting. That means according to me, or according to the person who is standing on the ground, he observes that the position of luggage is changing. According to him, luggage is performing motion. But if the same question is being asked to the cousin who is sitting inside the train, he will say that luggage is at the same place, it is not moving, it is not performing any kind of motion. So the thing which is to be understood is, you both are observing the same luggage, at the same time, but the conclusion is different according to you who is observing the motion from the station, from the ground. You will be saying that yes, it is performing motion, but according to the person, according to your cousin who is inside the train, he will say that no, it is not performing the motion, it is at rest, right? So whenever you are defining the motion, you need to specify the place from where you are observing it. That means if the same thing, if I'll say in a other way, that yes, luggage is moving, but I'm observing it from the ground, and your cousin, if he says that the luggage is not moving but he is observing from the train, then the answer would be okay. That means you both are observing the same luggage but from two different places, and that is why the conclusion goes different. So whenever you are being said to define motion, define it, but along with it define the place from where you are observing, right? So the place and the situation from where any observer takes his observation, that is known as frame of reference, right? So whenever we are dealing with motion, we definitely need to understand what is frame of reference, and we need to define it. We need to define the frame of reference, right? So frame of reference, once again, it's a place from where an observer takes his observation, right, which is a must while defining the motion. Clear? So the place and the situation from where any observer takes his observation is known as frame of reference. Mainly frame of reference are of two types: inertial frame of reference, first one, and second one, non-inertial frame of reference. Clear? These are the two frame of reference which we are going to discuss in 5th chapter, that is Newton's law of motion. We will discuss it briefly. These are the name given to the frame of reference. Okay, so whenever we are discussing about the motion, the theoretical approach to the frame of reference will be the intersection of all the axes. This is known as origin, or you can say this as reference point. From this point, discuss the motion which is occurring. Clear? So theoretically, this is known as origin, or this is known as reference point. Origin or reference point. Clear? Fine. Now let us discuss what is path length, distance and displacement. What is the difference? Okay. Path length or you can say total distance, both means the same, path length or total distance. And then we are going to discuss about displacement. Of course, distance and displacement are not same. I have not written it as or. Path length or total distance, that is okay. Displacement is something different. Okay. Now what is path length? I think this must be there in your standard 9th. Distance means the total length covered by the object. It's very simple. Total length covered by the object, that is known as distance, or you can say path length, right? The length of the path which a body has covered is known as path length. Now, can distance be negative? No, distance can never be negative. It is always added up. Distance is always added up. Clear? It cannot be negative, not be zero. It will be positive, it will be added up. If you are moving from place A to B, which is say 3 kilometer, and then you are coming back from that place B to A, that does not mean that you have traveled 0 kilometer. It means you have traveled 6 kilometer. Right? The point which I am trying to convey is that we are not concerned with the direction, where in whichever direction you are moving. If you have been said to calculate the distance, or you have been said to calculate the path length, you just have to go up adding. You just have to add up all the length which is being covered by the body. Right? That means, see, suppose say this is your positive x-axis, I am mentioning the distance which is in kilometer, minus x-axis, number line. Suppose any object, say car, right, it is moving from this place 0, let us say it as A, to this place B, which is say any kilometer, say 3 kilometer here, and then again it is moving at this place. It is not flying, make it sure. It is moving from A to B and then it is moving from B to C. So if I have been said to calculate the path length or total distance means the same. So if now I need to calculate the path length or the total distance of this car, I just have to add up. First, the car is at point A, right? That is moving to B, which is 3 kilometers. So this will be 3. Then from B to A, again 3. So total is 6. And then again from 0 to minus 3. That means 9. So the total distance or path length will be equals to 9 kilometers. See, we are not concerned with the direction, whether car A is coming from A to C or it is moving from A to B and B to and A to C. No. The thing which needs to be counted is you just have to keep on adding, right? Whenever you are calculating the distance or path length, keep on adding the length. That means 0 to 3, 3 to 0, that is 6, then again 3, so that is 9. So even if here it is given minus 3 according to the negative x-axis, but we are not supposed to write it minus 3 here. Distance will be added up. Clear? Distance will be added up. Yes, the unit will be kilometer. Now, suppose a person is moving 4 kilometer, then is moving 3 kilometer here, and is moving this way or this way, say 3 kilometer. Find the distance, find the path length. Number of turns a person is making, we are not concerned with that. Number of times he is changing the direction, we are not concerned with that. We just have to keep adding the length covered by the person. From here to here 4, here to here 3, here to here again 3, 4 plus 3 plus 3, 7 plus 3, 10 kilometers. So the distance covered by the person is 10 kilometers. Clear? Cannot be negative, make it sure. Fine. Now we are going to understand about displacement. What is displacement? Of course, there is a difference in distance and displacement. See, displacement is mathematically, displacement means final position of the object minus initial position of the object, or you can say the shortest distance between the initial and final position of the object is termed as displacement. Once again, see, displacement is mathematically defined as final position of the object minus initial position. This is mathematical way of giving the definition of displacement, or in a way you can say that I have just written the formula for calculating displacement. Otherwise it is, displacement is defined as shortest distance between initial and final position. So you will understand displacement by taking few examples. It would be more clear to you, because after understanding distance and displacement, only then we will be able to understand about speed and velocity, right? And we will derive different formulas to calculate average velocity. This chapter is really very interesting. See, we will take one example, right? Okay, let us take first a very easy example, the same type of example. This is distance, is kilometer. Suppose car is here, then car moves to B, 3 kilometer, and then car moves here, right? Again car is moving from A to B and B to C via A. Now you have been said to calculate displacement. See whether car has started from A, moved to B, then A and then C. We are now not concerned with the path followed by the car. We just have to look at the initial and final position, that's it. See, car has started from A point. So the initial position of car is A, which is at 0. Fine. So initial position of car is 0. Right. Finally, car has stopped at point C, which is given as -3. So final position is -3. Clear? So displacement of the car, final position minus initial position, -3 minus 0. Say displacement comes out to be negative, no problem. Displacement can be negative. Clear? Say the shortest distance between the initial and final position. You just have to join the initial and final position. This is known as displacement. This shortest distance between initial and final, this is known as displacement. Clear? Did you get that? Okay, now what if I'll say that car is moving from A to B first and then B to A. Now calculate the displacement. From where the car has started? A. So again, it's case 2, another case. So initial position of the car is 0. It is moving to B and then again it is coming back to 0. So final position is again 0. So now what is the displacement? Same initial and final positions, your answer will be 0. Done? Right? So in this case, displacement comes out to be 0, and in this case, displacement was negative. Clear? But if car moves only from A to B, then suppose if car is moving only from A to B. So now what is the final position of the car? 3 kilometer. From where did the car start? Car had started from 0 kilometer. So now displacement will be final position minus 3 minus 0. Right? So displacement of the car can be positive, can be negative, well, can be 0 also. So in a way, displacement is the shortest distance joining the initial and final position, that's it. Clear? We'll see 1 or 2 examples based on displacement, so it will be more clear to you. Okay, so now we'll take one more example. Suppose a person walks in this direction for say 3 kilometer. Then he moves in this direction for 2 kilometer. And then he moves this way 5 kilometer. Find the displacement of the person. Right, that means person is, say he's starting from A, is moving this way, then is turning left, and then is finally coming here, point B. See, what we have understood in displacement is you just need to join the points, right? Initial and final point. So this is your initial point A, this is your final point B. Join this. This should be your displacement, right? So now how to remove this displacement? This is 2, this is parallel, so this is equal, this will be 2, right? This is 2, so this will be 2. Total is 5, out of which this is 3, so again this will be 2. This is 2, this is 2, this will serve as hypotenuse. Clear? So displacement AB will be equals to root of say this was AC square plus CB square. Okay, root of 2 square plus clear 2 root 2. Done? Fine. One more example. Suppose a car is moving in a semicircular path of say any radius r. Semicircular path of any radius r. From A to B. Car is not moving vertically, it is moving in a horizontal plane. This is how the car is moving, this way. Clear? Find the ratio of distance and displacement. Find the ratio of distance, displacement. See, distance is the actual length covered by the car. So, this is the length covered by the car. So, distance is equals to, this is semicircle, so length of semicircle will be 2 pi r by 2, pi r. Clear? Displacement means you just have to join the initial and final point, right? Started from A, ended at point B, this is r, total will be 2r. Clear? This is capital R. So the ratio of distance by displacement will be distance pi r upon 2r. Clear? So this is how we will solve the questions based on distance and displacement, right? Okay, so up till now we had discussed about the motion, types of motion, frame of reference, distance and displacement. So in the next video we are going to understand what is speed, what is velocity, types of speed and types of velocity. Clear? Okay.